Hello everyone, we are going to brief on NRX accident in 1952. So I hope you guys enjoy our video. NRX, National Research Experimental, was a heavy water moderated, like water-cooled nuclear research reactor at the Canadian Chalk River Laboratories. Beforehand, let's see the chronology of this reactor. The reactor began operation on July 22, 1947. NRX experienced one of the world's first major reactor accidents on December 12, 1952. The accident was cleaned up and the reactor restarted in 1954. NRX operated for 45 years, being shut down permanently on March 30, 1993. It is currently undergoing decommissioning at the Chalk River Laboratories site. The NRX reactor incorporated a calandria, a sealed vertical aluminium cylindrical vessel with a diameter of 8 meter and height of 3 meter. The fuel elements contain fuel rods containing uranium fuel and sheathed in aluminium. Surrounding the fuel element was an aluminium coolant tube with up to 250 liters per second of coolant water from the Ottawa River flowing through it. 12 of the vertical tubes contain control rods made of boron carbide powdered inside steel tubes. This could be raised and lowered to control the reaction, with any 7 inserted being enough to absorb sufficient neutrons that no chain reaction could happen. The rods were held up by electromagnets so that a power failure would cause them to fall into the tubes and terminate the reaction. A pneumatic system could use air pressure from above to quickly force them into the reactor core, or from below to slowly raise them from it. 4 of these were called the safeguard bank, while the other 8 were controlled in an automatic sequence. 2 push buttons on the main panel in the control room activated magnets to seal the rods to the pneumatic system, and the push button to cause the pneumatic insertion of the rods into the core was located a few feet away.
So, why the NRX reactor failed? It all started during test done on low power, where the supervisor noticed several control rods being pulled from the core and found an operator in the basement opening the motive valve by mistake. This was the first step in the accident. Due to a miscommunication between the supervisor and the operator, wrong buttons were pressed when the supervisor asked for lowering the control rods into the core. Instead of sealing the withdrawn control rods to the pneumatic system, the safeguard bank of 4 control rods was withdrawn from the core. Raising of the safeguard bank caused the power output of the reactor to double every 2 seconds. Because the pneumatic seals push button wasn't activated, the pneumatic system could not push the 4 control rods of the safeguard bank into the calandria quickly. Even gravity should have drawn them downward, but 3 of them didn't fall and the 4th fell much more slowly than it should have. The reactor continued to increase in power. The ordinary water which being cooled by a temporary system then began to boil, severely reducing the capability of the cooling system. Then, the power output began to increase more sharply. The situation got worse when a gauge in the control room indicated that the pressure of helium gas above the heavy water inside the calandria was dropping sharply. Hydrogen and other gases formed by heat and chemical reactions in the fuel rods were present inside and escaping from the calandria. The climax is when the dome of the gas holder suddenly jumped to its highest point, indicating that a hydrogen or oxygen explosion took place inside the calandria. The calandria didn't suffer complete structural failure, and more than 150 of calandria tubes didn't rupture. This explosion marks the end of the accident.
Due to overheat, to cool down the reactor, the ordinary water cooling system was not shut down. All of this water was contaminated. It leaked onto the floor of the reactor building. Within few days, it spilled into the gas holder's room and the rooms containing the heavy water storage tanks. The system was maintained so that the leakage rate continued to be about 4 liters per second. Decontamination and cleanup required many months. A 106-liter tank of clean water was emptied to the Ottawa River and the contaminated water was pumped into the tank. 2 years after the meltdown, NRX was back in operation again on February 16, 1954. The calandria was removed, buried and replaced with a new one. The rods were replaced with special rods called boosters rod, were designed, made and used to increase the reactivity following the new operating power of 40 MW. Plus, since it was not known how long a research reactor could be expected to operate, another reactor called NRU reactor was developed to ensure continuity of the research reactor. NRU was 10 times more powerful, initially designed as 200 MW reactor fueled with natural uranium. Since the miscommunication between the supervisor and assistants had led to this incident, some recommendation that we can suggest is that the procedures must be known by all of the workers that involved in running the reactor, and the one who's responsible must do the double check and alert of the system. Another recommendation is the calandria. From the incident, we know that the supervisor assumed that the rods had completely fallen back into the core and enough to clear the red lights without having a visible sight. We recommend to build the calandria with a see-through material like glass, or equip the calandria with a small window section that can directly show the intake of rods and the core. Plus, the material must contain the characteristics such as able to withstand the heat and corrosion.